Consuming Issues with Georgie Frost, making the pound in your pocket go that little bit further.
So there you go. We are asking today, what is your favourite smell? A range of Tweed products, which smell of whiskey is being launched later, being created by Harris Tweed and Johnny Walker Black Label. It's almost like we planned this, Annie, isn't it? Almost.
It is, yeah,
almost.
it is.
Because we didn't know about this
It was fate.
whiskey-smelling range of Tweed products, although oversight by us, I think. Now we do. We'll go out and buy some. Because we do have the Perfume Studio coming in, you see. Creative small company showing us how to make money from DIY scents. Now, have you ever watched an ad with Victoria Beckham or Katy Perry marketing their own perfume fragrances? You've gone quite highbrow with that. There are much lower brow celebs that do their own.
They all seem to be doing it. I think my niece has got One Direction perfume.
One Direction perfume.
Yes.
I'm guessing they didn't create their own perfume. My favourite was Alex Curran's perfume. Who's she?
Who is she?
Who's she? She's the wife of Stephen Gerrard. Who he? I hear you say.
Oh, I know who he is.
There you go. Who?
He's a sporting football man.
There you go. Well done, Annie.
My limited sporting knowledge.
So there you go. You now smell like his wife.
Thanks.
All right. So anyway, joining us in the studio is the managing director, no less, of the very creative business, the Perfume Studio, which lets you do just that, create your own and market your own perfume fragrances like Victoria Beckham. Ben Janousek is the managing director of Perfume Studio, a very unique business indeed. Let me just read to you what it says on your website, as I sort of intimated there. So it's a unique concept, something truly new and different for you to enjoy. We specialise in helping you create a unique fragrance, you like that word, that captures the essence of you and gives you a perfume to wear and cherish.
That's right, Georgie.
Goodness. Yeah. Explain more.
Yeah, well, and I think you said we mentioned unique quite a lot, and there's a very good reason for that, because I guess, what are the chances that, one of the big fragrance houses will create a fragrance that is your perfect fragrance? So what we do is we give you the opportunity to, and help you to create the perfect that suits you, suits your personality, suits your skin, suits your lifestyle, and really that's the basis of the business. And everybody, you, me, everyone in the street, all your listeners, anyone around can create their own perfume.
Because we hear so much about your signature scent, don't we? But actually, this can be completely your signature scent.
Exactly. Like I say, what are the chances that Hugo Boss are going to create your perfume?
Well, there you go. Let's go right back to the start then, and tell us exactly what Perfume Studio is, how it came up, etc., etc.
Yeah, so it comes from a business that a few years ago, where we were supplying perfumes to the retailers, to the brands, as a business, and what we decided to do was to create this opportunity for customers, for people in the street, to create their own perfume. It's quite a complex process. There are thousands and thousands of materials that are involved in perfumery, from synthetics through to naturals. So what we tried to do was to simplify that process. And that met with a little bit of resistance from let's say, the traditional trade, because they felt, well, you're taking away, it's a little bit of a magic art, it's a secret. But actually, the analogy we like to use is a kind of a cookery analogy. The fact that Gordon Ramsay or Jamie Oliver share their knowledge about cooking and teach you how to cook actually doesn't take away from their place as people at the highest level. It actually adds to their kudos, adds to their ability, etc. So what we've really tried to do is to demystify a little bit, I guess, the process of perfumery, and allow everyone the opportunity to create their perfume.
You talk about their naturals and synthetics. Let's talk about the base then. What goes into creating a lovely bottle of perfume?
Okay, well, so a perfume is traditionally split into a top note, a middle notes, and base notes.
Sounds like wine.
It is, and there are a lot of similarities with wine. There's also, in fact, a lot of language in perfumery is very closely related to music as well. So, in terms of a fragrance that covers the top, middle, and base notes, you might consider the base notes are the base of within a musical score. So it could be like the drums playing quietly in the background, or something like that, and that really sort of sets up the fragrance, gives the fragrance a rhythm, like a woody note.
I was about to say woody.
Yeah, woody notes would be seen as bassy notes. Amber notes, you could have spicy notes could be sort of perceived as bassy notes, although they can move across. But woody, traditionally musky notes, they can last for a long, long time. You know, you could be wearing a shawl you wore 2 years ago and still smell the kind of those musky, woody notes, you know, sitting on your shawl that you may have worn 2 years ago.
Hopefully I'll have washed it by then. That's a bit gross, but yeah.
And then you have the middle notes. That's really what, and sometimes called the heart of the fragrance. If you imagine a triangle, and that really is the melody of your fragrance. That's really what you're smelling as an overall character within your fragrance. Often very floral notes. So when you look at our collection of blends, which we break down into top, middle, and base notes, a lot of our middle notes are types of floral notes. You know, it could be rose notes, could be iris notes. You know, any flower you can think of, any kind of floral note. And then you have your top notes, and they are your kind of high impact, initial impact notes. So they're often kind of citruses, ozonics, those kind of watery notes. Exactly.
Instant.
And it's the first thing you smell. And if you imagine a molecule moving very, very fast, you know, they're the molecules within the fragrance that are lifting off and give that initial impact. But it's actually combining those notes together which creates your final fragrance. And that's where the skill is. And that's a skill that really a perfumer, you know, takes years and years and years, and I mean literally decades, and they'll never finish. You know, they're always learning, and they are choosing from 2.5, 3, sometimes more thousand notes, you know, to create their fragrance. And what we've tried to do is distill that down into a more manageable process.
How have you done that?
So our master perfumer, Francois Robert, who's based at sort of Perfume Studio HQ. He's the kind of the creative centre of our business. And what he's done, and going back to the musical analogy, is what we create are not chords but accords, and that's groups of materials which create a kind of a key note within a fragrance. So what he's done is he's identified, or what we've done is identify the key chords which can go together to make up in any combination a fragrance, and he has blended very high quality accords using finest materials, not just naturals, but a lot of naturals, but also synthetics, which are often better in perfumery. So he's created these 18 notes, from citrus to woody to amber to balsamic to fruity, green. Your colleague mentioned, one of your callers talked about green grass, the smell of cut grass. So that's quite
popular, isn't it?
It is, and it's a really key note. And
do you want to smell like cut grass?
Well, you wouldn't want to necessarily smell like it individually, but actually within a fragrance. And you know, if we had a chance, which we probably won't have, but you could have a smell of our green note, and you'll notice that there is this material in there which is called cis-3-hexanol, which is the smell of green grass. And it's all related to memory. You know, fragrance is really about memory. And often if you have a good memory of something, so that's why some people really like petrol smell. It's really interesting because, and I'm one of those people, and that's because I kind of remember long sort of fun journeys in the car with my dad, you know, driving down the road, singing songs, stopping at the petrol station. So you then associate petrol with a nice smell, whereas some people who hate the smell of petrol may have had, let's say, negative experience of that car journey.
What is your perfect smell then?
Well, it's looking at my girth. It's I like the smell of kind of fat cooking, like bacony smells. No. And that's because I have memories of, you know, my grandmother, you know, in Czech Republic cooking, you know, it's a high fat diet over there, and I just have really fond memories of this really beautiful kind of cooking process. You know, I wouldn't want to smell like it, but that's what makes me happy as a smell.
Isn't
sadly.
that interesting? Because what can really turn, there's a cafe near us that has that.
Just been in there for a coffee.
Has that very strong smell, and I find that really nauseating.
Right, yeah. So maybe you have bad memories of cooking in the fat cooking.
Well, my mother was a doctor, and I was never allowed anything like that. Well, so it was all low-fat nonsense.
She might have negatively conditioned you.
Exactly, but isn't it strange how we all have our own very strong sort of emotional responses?
Absolutely, and you know, and most fragrance. I mean, there's not I don't think a definition of how smell works, but a lot of people agree it is very related to your limbic system, which is your memory system. So there is a massive connotation with fragrance, and people instantly go somewhere. When they smell something, they go, oh, I remember this. Baby smell is a really key one, and we have a couple of notes within our records which immediately people associate with babies and therefore find it really nice, or in your case, have maybe bad memories of
I would like
smell.
to say babies do smell okay. It's just I did experience the bad experience of offering to change a nappy.
Well, I've been through that.
Traumatised.
It's not something I've enjoyed too much.
I was going to say, I don't think anyone could really enjoy that.
No.
So how did the concept start up? So you offer people, and I looked on your website, of course,
Sure.
things like hen parties and other parties.
Yeah, so the great thing about Perfume Studio, it's so flexible. We can offer it in any number of situations. So we can do one-to-one situations, and let's say that's a more premium experience where you get the full-on consultation. Could be of the master perfumer at one level, or one of our perfume consultants at the other. And then we do groups. So that could be hen parties, it could be birthday parties, a lot of corporate stuff. Right, this time of year is really busy for us from a corporate perspective. Companies offering their staff rewards. They have a
the
day.
smell of success.
Exactly, and sometimes that's purely as a reward. Okay, we've had a busy day doing this. Now we're going to have a bit of fun, or it actually can be built into a quite an interesting team building experiment. We do. Even shopping centres. We've been asked next week to go into a shopping centre in Northampton and just be there and offer something, just to encourage customers to come by, to get involved, so almost as like a promotional material. You can do it at home as well. We have kits, I guess is the best way to call them. In fact, I have brought one with me, which I think we're going to offer as a prize on your radio station today.
Oh, very good. Is that right, Annie?
That is correct, Amundo.
Yeah.
Why not?
Oh,
So
fantastic.
it's our ultimate kit where you can
Let's
actually...
have a look at this ultimate kit, because I am terrible at describing
I
this.
might enter.
It looks like a white box here. I'm about to open it. I'm expecting some sort of chemistry set. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, little vials, little pretty vials of perfume.
Oh, it's so perfectly
Oh, it looks like a
wrapped
big
up.
box of chocolates, actually.
There you
Yeah.
go.
peeling back the paper
is.
now.
It's wow. I'm
We're
terrible.
going to have to put this on
There is-
Twitter, everyone.
There's 15 very small bottles.
18.
I can't. Oh yeah, I can't count. There's 18. There you
18.
go. 18. I can't count. With pipettes. How brilliant is that? And smelling sort of things. Okay, so we've
And
got.
a beautiful atomizer, don't forget, and the glass bottle. to
Yes,
put
my
your creation
my
in.
description is limited at the best of times. I'm famous for it. I'm perfect on radio. What can I say? Because I can't describe anything. So we will take a photo, and of course you can win this box of tricks, because it's essentially what it looks like. But I assume you don't use all of these. How would you work if you took this home, or you gave this as a present?
Absolutely.
To someone?
So, and it's the same really whether you come to one of our experiences, which we run regularly all around the country. We have a network of consultants, and I'm guessing that's something you'll want to talk about as well. But what we do is we take you on a journey, effectively, a fragrance journey, and we take you through smelling each blend, talk about what the character of that fragrance is, what materials are used within that fragrance, how you might use it, whether it's a top note, middle note, base note, what even kind of the emotional evocations of using that fragrance. And you smell through each one individually. Each one has its own kind of story. And then at the end of it, you get the opportunity, and you kind of effectively, to put it very simply, you pick the ones you like, the blends that you like, and we put them together for you. And that becomes your fragrance. And that, as I say, can be done in any of the environments that we create the fragrances in. And the great thing about it is, of course, we keep a record of your fragrance. So that goes then registered onto our database. And then you can come onto our website and reorder your perfume at any time in the future. And of course, right now, that's a key area of our business in these months as gifts. And
So if I was to come into the shop, this is beautiful, and I will tweet this, of course. If I was to come into your shop, how would we start? How would you find out about me, what I like? I assume you'd go quite in depth into sort of do you focus on what smells I like, or what my personality is?
Yeah, I think that there is one can do that, and of course we would immediately, we start a dialogue and discuss with you what kind of things you like. The interesting thing about fragrance is it's very subjective, and your description of what you like actually might be very different from my description of what you're saying. So you might say, I like green notes. I might show you a green note, and you go, oh, I don't like that, because your interpretation of a green note is very different to my interpretation of a green note. Now, of course, there will be some consensual sort of consensus on that, but the best way to do it is just to go through and smell each one and then talk through each one and learn about what's in that fragrance, what's in that material. You might, a lot of fragrances that are available on the high street have certain notes, and we might identify, well, this note, number 5, I think, is our aldehydic, or someone's going to kill me now because it's probably not number 5. But anyway,
I hope not.
One of them is called aldehydic, and that's a very strong note within Chanel number 5. So if you like Chanel number 5, have a smell of the aldehydic in there, and you'll recognise it as being very...
Is that
not
how
dissimilar.
you can... We heard recently about Aldi selling £4 perfumes that smell very similar to Chanel number 5. I assume they're using these sort of same kind of...
Well, they will be doing it. So I don't know
either,
too much about Aldi's what they're doing, and I'd rather not say, or Lidl or whatever. But yes, I mean you see it in street markets all the time. The kind of CKCs or CK2 or whatever. These kind of copies, and they will be things that smell not dissimilar to the real thing. They'll be using much lower quality materials. For instance, probably a lower dose. They won't last as long. Not Aldi, of course, but certainly on the street markets, you've got to be careful that they comply with the regulations as well, because there's a very strict regulations, guidelines by Europe and IFRA that make sure we're using the right materials and not using too many of the bad ones.
How much would this wonderful box set you back?
Well, the retail price for that is £95.
And we're giving this away. £95.
We are giving it away.
Annie's face.
However, if you don't want to wait for the giveaway, they are online at the moment as well. We're doing a special offer on our website as a launch, because it's literally just launched that kit. And you can go and see that using discount code WOW30 on www.theperfumestudio.com. Theperfumestudio.com.
Very good. Annie's got a question. Jump in,
go,
Annie.
I have actually. Is this an old wives' tale?
Right.
Because my mother always says perfume smells different on me than it does her. She's like, "Do you want this perfume? It smells different on me."
It depends who you talk to.
Right.
And it depends what you want to believe. I've spoken to a number of different top-level perfumers who will have a different opinion on that. The one I like to believe, because I believe in the subjectiveness of perfume, is that it doesn't actually smell any different on different skin. Of course, the skin will have a different background smell, that's for sure, but it's actually more about you. It's you're the subject in this case, and therefore the fact that it's on you immediately changes the perception of that fragrance on somebody else.
Interesting.
That's my belief.
But do we not have a natural body smell? Because I'm sure that I've known people who've worn the same thing, and it does smell different.
Absolutely, and there is that background element, because your skin does, of course, have an odour, and of course depends what you've washed with, whether you're wearing soap, etc. And what shower gel you've used. So all those things can have an effect. But I being slightly scientific of mind, although I'm not a scientist, but I like evidence. I would say that if you had like an identical skin preparation, you wouldn't be able to smell the difference. But it's subjective. So if you smell it differently, then you smell it differently. Who am I to argue?
Well, I'm not going to argue, because my mum keeps giving me perfume.
And
Perfect.
And if she
Win-win.
if she smells it differently, that's correct. She's smelling it differently on you than she is on someone else. So it's subjective. That's what's important, not actually what the fact is. It's actually what you believe.
How long has the company been around for? And how
It's
did
been
it start?
around.
What's the background?
It's been around quite a long time, actually. About 9-10 years it started, but in a relatively small local way, and it's only really in the last sort of 4 or 5 years it's become a bigger company. In the last couple of years in particular, where we're really expanding on an national basis and looking now to go quite international as well.
There's so much competition in this industry. What makes you think that you can stand out? I suppose it's the unique thing that we were talking about.
Absolutely, and that's certainly an element. And we don't pretend that we're going to be the next Chanel, although of course that would be very nice. But it's really about offering choice, I think, to the consumer. And I would say most, particularly females, and 90% of our customers are female, maybe even 95%. Have 4 or 5 fragrances on their shelf, and I don't want to stop them using Chanel or Elizabeth Arden or whatever it is they're using, but 1 or 2 of those fragrances could well be your unique fragrance. One for the evening, one for the day, one for spring, one for summer. There's so many different fragrances, and as I say, this one is yours. No one else has got this fragrance. And the testament is really the feedback we get from our customers, who get so many compliments from people when they're wearing their own fragrance, and they say, "Oh, what fragrance are you wearing?" "It's mine."
Isn't it interesting?
Better
Because
thing is that?
Exactly, because it's your choice. And we did talk earlier about what smells you like, I don't like, or what smells I like, you don't like. So isn't it it's about whether perfume is for you or for someone else.
Sure, absolutely, and we do have to be a bit careful because, of course, you don't want an offensive smell. So
if you like it,
well, that's true. But the system we have designed is very much designed not to allow you to really create what would be universally accepted as a bad
if
smell.
someone came out and said, some absolutely horrendous smell, yes, like they wanted to, the cafe from over the road, and you wanted to have that kind of dripping fat smell. I mean, would you have someone step in and go,
probably not a good idea.
Different tone, different note here.
Exactly, and our system won't allow that to happen just because we don't have smells in there which are, let's say, the majority of people would find not quite so pleasant.
Just a quick word then. Of course, we're discussing the autumn statement that's going to be announced at around 12:30. Just as a growing business, as a company, and an online presence as well. What do you make of the sort of noises about what's sort of business rates, etc., and any other thing? What would you like to see happen? During the statement?
As always, it always looks positive on paper in the morning when you get the kind of the press briefings, etc. The key for any small business, I think, is often cash flow, and anything that can help with the cash flow of a business, particularly at this time of year. When we've had to invest quite heavily because Christmas is a key selling period for us. So anything that lightens this kind of restrictions on us is always welcome. I think it's haven't seen the full briefing, or obviously we haven't heard the statements. So it'll be interesting to see what actually comes out of it at the end.
On digital radio and online, this is Share Radio.